Imagine you are on a very big, very expensive boat in the middle of the ocean. The sun is shining and the water is a beautiful blue. This boat is so big that it feels like a floating house. On this boat, there are very famous people. One of them is a prince. Another is a girl who wants to be famous. For a long time, people have whispered about what happened on that boat. They say that for 3 whole days, the prince and the girl stayed in a secret room and did not come out to see anyone else. They say that something very big happened, something that could have changed the whole royal family forever. But for many years, everyone stayed quiet. They made a deal to keep the secret buried deep in the sand. But secrets are like seeds. Even if you hide them, they can grow. Now the people who were keeping the secret are starting to talk. They are tired of staying quiet. This is a story about a hidden past, a secret baby, and a prince who tried to make a problem disappear just by being silent. It is a story about how some people will do anything to stay important, and how the truth always finds a way to come out, even after 20 years. Sarah Ferguson, who many people call Fergie, is talking about a plan. She says that if Prince Andrew wants to be nice and play the game, then she is ready to play too. She sounds like she is making a deal. She says that Andrew told her, "Let's play," and she agreed. But she has one very important rule. She does not want to get anybody in trouble. She's being very careful because she knows that the things they're talking about are very serious. She tells the other person that she will listen to them talk about their friendship first. Then once they are finished talking, she will activate her part of the plan. She's waiting for the right moment to act, but she also wants something for herself. She asks for $500,000. She says this money will help open doors and keep things moving. She knows that in the world of princes and queens, you need money to get things done. She asks if this is a good idea, and the other person says yes. They are working together to make sure everyone gets what they want without getting caught. This shows that Sarah is a very smart lady who knows how to handle big secrets and big money. She's not just a regular person. She is someone who knows how to move through the world of the powerful. In our world, there are 2 kinds of secrets. Some secrets stay hidden because nobody ever finds the clues. But the most dangerous secrets are the ones that everybody knows about, but they all agree to never, ever talk about them. In the world of the royal family, being quiet is not an accident. It is a choice they make every single day. For a long time, there was a story that followed the royal family like a dark shadow. They never said it wasn't true, but they never said it was true either. They didn't try to sue anyone, and they didn't make big speeches about it. They just acted like the story wasn't there. This is how they handle things when they are afraid. If a story is a lie, they usually stop it right away. But when they stay silent for years and years, it usually means that a very powerful person is trying to keep the truth hidden. Sarah Ferguson was right in the middle of this silence. She heard the story a long time ago. She knew all the little details. But she never tried to fix the story or tell the truth. She didn't use her words to protect the secret. She used her absence. In a world where everyone is watching you, not being there says a lot. The story wasn't a small piece of gossip. It was a very big deal involving a private boat, a prince, and a woman who would later become a duchess. It was a story about being alone for 3 days and a secret that followed. It was a story that was locked away on purpose, and it worked for a long time. But now the silence is stopping. When the people who kept the secret don't get anything out of it anymore, they stop being quiet. The past wants to be heard, and that is where the real story begins. To understand why this secret is so important, you have to know who Sarah Ferguson really is. She isn't just the lady you see in the newspapers. She's a woman who has lived inside the royal family for a very long time. She didn't need anyone to teach her about being rich or having special power. She was born into that world and lived it every day. She knew how Prince Andrew's world worked long before other people started asking questions. She knew the places he liked to go and the people he liked to hang out with. She knew all about yacht culture, which is when rich people hang out on giant boats. To her, these weren't strange or mysterious things. They were just part of her normal life. So when stories started coming out later about fancy boats and secret guests, Sarah wasn't surprised at all. She saw the same patterns happening over and over again. In the royal family, they use silence to manage things. It is how they deal with stories that make them feel uncomfortable. If everyone gets something good by staying quiet, then nobody talks. For a long time, this was how things stayed. Sarah stayed close enough to the family to be protected. The family stayed strong and the secret stayed locked up. But silence only works if it helps everyone. Eventually, the balance changed. When the protection goes away, people stop being loyal. When someone who knows the whole truth stops doing what they are told, the silence becomes very dangerous. Sarah's quietness isn't because she has nothing to say. It is part of her plan. And when the plan changes, the story changes too. Many years after the secret was first hidden, a new person joined the royal family. Her name was Meghan Markle. Most people thought she was totally new to this world. They saw her as an actress from America who was an outsider. They thought she was stepping into the world of kings and queens for the very first time. But Sarah Ferguson knew better. To her, this wasn't a new story. It was an old story coming back. Meghan wasn't someone who entered this world with her eyes closed. She had already spent a lot of time with very rich and powerful people. She knew how to act around important people. She understood that being close to power was very valuable. Later, Meghan told a story about the first time she met Prince Andrew. She said she didn't even know who he was. She said she thought he was just a man holding the Queen's purse. To the public, this sounded like a funny and cute mistake, but to someone like Sarah, it sounded like a big lie. Andrew was not a man who was hard to see. He was famous and very important. He wasn't someone you could just miss, especially if you had studied the royal family before marrying into it. Meghan used that kind of talk for a reason. When people want to act like they weren't part of something in the past, they rewrite the story of how it started. They try to make it sound like they were far away. They do this when something happened before the official story was supposed to begin. To Sarah, it wasn't a funny mistake. It was a way to hide the truth. Once Meghan became a royal through a different way, the past became a big problem, and that is when staying quiet wasn't enough anymore. History always follows you, and buried stories don't stay in the ground forever. To understand the real secret, we have to go back in time. We have to look at a place called the south of France in February of 2002. This wasn't a big party with lots of people. It was a private boat called a yacht. Privacy is very important because it changes how people act. On a private yacht, there are no strangers. Everyone on the boat knows exactly who is there and why. There are no accidents. According to the story that people have shared quietly, Prince Andrew was a very special guest on that boat, and Meghan Markle was already there. She was part of the group on the boat. At first, everything seemed normal, but once Andrew arrived, everything changed. Suddenly, all the attention was on him and Meghan. They stayed very close to each other. People who were there noticed it because it was so obvious. Then they both went to a room below the deck of the boat. They didn't just go down there for a minute and come back. They stayed down there for a long time. People say they didn't come out for several days. They stayed away from all the other guests. Their meals were brought to them in private. When they finally came out, the feeling on the boat was totally different. The happy mood was gone. Everything felt quiet and heavy. People started to whisper. Even though nobody shouted or made a scene, the story stayed in the minds of the people who saw it. These kinds of moments are hard to forget. For Sarah Ferguson, this wasn't a shock. It was just another example of the way Andrew lived his life. But what happens next is the most important part of the story. When the boat finally came back to the land, the story didn't stop there. After they left the boat, Meghan and Andrew kept talking to each other. They had conversations and stayed in touch. It seemed like they had a real connection. But then Andrew went back home to London and everything changed in an instant. Suddenly, he wouldn't answer her calls. He wouldn't look at her messages. He didn't explain why he was being so cold. This wasn't just a slow end to a friendship. It was like he turned off a light. Eventually, he made it official. His workers were told to block her completely. The doors were shut and she was not allowed to talk to him anymore. In the royal family, this is how they handle problems. They don't fight or argue, they just act like you don't exist. For someone who is used to being able to talk to people, this silence must have been very scary. Meghan didn't stop trying to reach him though. She kept calling and calling. It seemed like there was something very important she needed to tell him, but Andrew never answered. This is where the story gets even more serious. According to the people who know the secret, Meghan believed she was pregnant. She thought she was going to have a baby. If this was true, it would have been a giant disaster for the royal family. A baby from a prince and a girl who weren't married would have caused so much trouble. It would have been a problem they couldn't just hide. But Andrew still stayed silent. He wouldn't help her or talk to her. Because he wouldn't answer and there was no way forward, a very hard decision was made. The baby did not happen. After that, they never talked again. There were no goodbyes, just distance. Whether every part of this is 100% true or not, it explains why there is so much anger beneath the surface. If even a little bit of this is true, it explains why everyone has stayed quiet for 20 years. Andrew wanted the secret to stay in the dark. The family wanted it buried. And Meghan wanted to start a new life. There were no pictures or papers, just the memory of what happened. And memory is a very dangerous thing when you are close to the same people again. This story is not just about two people who are different. It is about two people who are very much the same. Sarah Ferguson and Meghan Markle are like two mirrors looking at each other. They both know how to use their relationships to get what they want. They both understand how to act around important people. And they both know that loyalty can disappear the moment you aren't useful anymore. For a long time, Sarah played the long game. She stayed close to the family and kept her mouth shut. Because she followed the rules, she was allowed to stay part of the group. Meghan tried to do the same thing. She tried to make herself look important and move up the ladder. She walked away from people who couldn't help her anymore. The only difference was the timing. Sarah learned the hard way that you have to be careful. Meghan thought the rules would always change for her, and that is where everything broke. When two people who are so similar stop being friends, it can be very destructive. When Meghan decided to be mean instead of being nice, she made Sarah an enemy. But Sarah isn't just an enemy, she is a witness. She doesn't need pictures or proof because she lived it. She saw Andrew's habits and the way he acted on boats. She knew when secrets were being hidden. For a long time, being quiet helped everyone. But that is over now. Sarah isn't being protected anymore. Meghan isn't a favorite anymore. And Andrew can't depend on people to hide his past. What happens when the only person who knows where the bones are buried stops being quiet? Secrets don't go away. They wait for their turn. And when someone with a good memory and nothing to lose decides to talk, the past doesn't just whisper, it screams. That is the truth the royal family has always been the most afraid of. They are worried that the truth will finally come out and change everything they have built. The story is no longer just about boats and rumors. It is about who knew the truth and chose to stay silent while bad things were happening. That is the real scandal.